What's up, guys? I recently released all my kill videos as well as my VOD review for some of the Castle Nathria bosses, and one of the comments I got a lot, and one of the comments I got a lot on my stream throughout progress, was asking me what the add-on I use or weak aura to tell me when to use my healing cooldowns. So in this video, I'm going to go through it, basically showing you how to set it up, what you need to do, and the important things to remember. I want to also say, though, before we get into it, a disclaimer is that I don't really know how to use the add-on to its full potential. We only started using it this tier, and it wasn't even me that started using it. It was our disc priest, Visario, who's a super useful guy, super helpful, super smart. He set it up to set reminders for all of us. And then I kind of took that and set reminders for myself based off what he did, kind of teaching myself it. So I'm not fully an expert, but I do know the basics to getting you reminders on your screen. Another disclaimer, the timers are never going to be 100% accurate if you do it based on like encounter start. If you do it based on encounter start, there are bosses like Artificer Zymog where depending on when you phase the boss, his timers are going to change. So his abilities are not always going to happen at the same point. So if you use the encounter start option, then you have to keep that in mind that your timers are never going to be 100% accurate. And instead of using it as a clear cut, use this cooldown then, you should use that as, okay, this mechanic is coming soon. I need to pay attention now. Like, hey, it's 3 minutes, 40 seconds into the fight. I need to start watching in the next couple seconds because the mechanic is about to come out instead of using my cooldown right this second when the message pops up. But that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments and I will try my best to answer them. Thanks for watching, boys.
Alright, so if we take a look at PRT, we can start off by just opening it, and the very first thing you want to do once you open the application is switching your run mode from receiver to sender and receiver. So this will allow you get messages and send them to either yourself or to other people, and then also make sure that test mode is disabled. If you have test mode enabled, it's basically just going to spam the ever-living fuck out of you anytime you press like an ability. So just uncheck that if it is checked, and then you don't really have to do much. You can go into overlays and kind of mess with them. So each of them has a different way they'll be presented. You can just switch them to however you want. I personally just always use the default one, and then I've changed it to how I liked it to be, which is a bigger size font and stuff. But you can select the receiver to be whatever you want and then play around with it however you want. It's really just up to you. So then after that, you go into encounters, and you can either import an encounter that someone else has made, or you can just create a new one. In this case, I already have one made, but it's not too bad. You just go through and you select whatever whatever fight you want to use, or what dungeon, whatever it might be. So I have Siren made already, and it's relatively simple what you want to do. You just want to make a new timer, and it'll look something like this. Then you just have to go through, kind of just try to match some of the settings that I have. So my first timer I use for just wings. So this shows a kind of a countdown to whenever I want to use wings on a fight. For the start condition, it's important you use encounter start. You can play with some of these other things like spellcast success, spellcast start, whatever it might be. It's just not something I've really messed around with, so I don't have a ton of experience with it. But you could basically set reminders based on just spellcast and stuff, right? I, of course, just like encounter start because that's what I'm just used to. And then after that, you can go into your timing options. The name, and then the target trigger time. So go into logs, figure out what times you need to use wings. Generally, like healing officers will assign you times with where you're using them, like use wings at like 7 minutes. So you would put just 7 minutes here. It's important to note that like when you're doing a system like this based on the encounter start, it's 100% impossible to be 100% accurate, right? Depending on like when you face a boss and what's going on in the fight, spell queuing, that kind of stuff, it could throw off your timers. So never ever use this reminder as like 100% truth. What you want to do is just use it as a reminder of when you're pressing your abilities, not pressing your abilities exactly when it occurs. That's how I've gone about it. So whenever, like at 2 minutes and 25 seconds, it shows up and it tells me to use wings in a certain second. At that point, I know what's happening in that fight when I want to use my wings. And then I'm just figuring out, it's just sending me a reminder telling me like, hey, you're using it now or you're using it soon. So the offset basically shows it how many seconds before the trigger time does it occur. So if the trigger time is set to 2 minutes and 25 seconds, you can set the offset to -5, and the trigger and the message will appear at 220. So this is nice because in the message, you can add this code, which is a %, a period, a 0, and then an F, and that will count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, depending on your offset. So it's super nice. I like having the offset there because it'll give me a countdown until I want to use my ability. Down here, you can set your duration for how long you want the message to show up in the center of your screen or wherever you might put it, as well as which art overlay you want to use. The most important thing about all of PRT is the targets. So you can assign different targets. You can assign mythology, you can assign Visario disc, and that's going to go to me, and that's going to go to our disc priest. If you don't set a message at targets, or you have the target set to all, that will go to all 20 players. Every single person in your raid will get the message telling you to use wings. So you want to disable that, or you want to switch the target to only your name. Whatever your character name is, you need to swap it to that. And then also, if you're setting a message to, you want someone to see, or if you want someone to see it, you can just add them. If you want the entire raid to use defensives, you can just switch targets to all. If you want to see just healers, you can switch it to just healer. It's pretty endless what you can do. They have pre-built like spells here that you can click on for the picture, or you can just type in a spell ID. Like if I click on Bop, it'll put the spell ID at the end here. So you just replace this with whatever spell ID you want, and I'll switch the icon from the Bop icon to like the wings icon. I just don't have that set up.
So there's other things you can do with PRT too. Like you can make your timer based off health percentages, and I have one for Cyrogen Athras again set up to tell me to freedom. So it tracks the boss, it tracks his health, and when his health reaches 71%, it tells me to use freedom soon. Because it's not 100% accurate, I just have it to say it soon. So it's a reminder in my head, hey, this message popped up, I need to pay attention to his health, because his health is about to get to the point where I need a freedom. So it's just like a reminder. And I have it set up to a custom sound. I put an air horn on it. I have a duration of 5 seconds. And then for the percentage, it's pretty easy. You just set up to equal to, less than, or greater than. So I have it set to whenever the boss is less than 71% HP, this message will show up for 5 seconds. And as soon as it's done after the 5 seconds, it disappears. It won't proc again. So super easy that way.
All right, so let's make a new timer from scratch. Let's say I want to reminder to use health pot. Let's say I want to do it early into the fight. So we're just gonna say encounter start, because we want it to start tracking it based on when the fight starts. And I want to use my health pot at like 6 minutes and 58 seconds. Let me put a 0 there too. So 6 minutes and 58 seconds, I want to use a health stone. And then what I want to do, I want to just say health stone or health pot. So that's just the name of the timer. And then who do I want to see it? I only want it to show up for me, not my entire raid. So I'm going to swap it to mine. And then I'm going to set a reminder to say, use health pot now. And that's going to tell me that I want to use health pot now. Because it happens here, I'm going to just delay it by like 3 seconds. So it'll show up 3 seconds ahead of time. And it'll tell me to use my health pot. I set it to whatever overlay I want. In this case, I want it to go to my default overlay. So then whenever the fight reaches about 6 minutes and 55 seconds because of my offset, I will get a message for 5 seconds that tells me to use my health pot. Alright, so let's make a reminder for Sledgefist that we want the entire raid to see and tell them to use their health stones when the boss gets to a certain point. So we go Sledgefist, we set it up just with the encounter ID. Very easy. Then we make a new timer for it. And we're going to call this defensives. We're going to do it on, let's say, just the counter start again. So I know that he hits the third pillar around like 320. I think it's like 322, or it might be a little bit earlier. I don't know off the top of my head. So then we want to send it to all of our targets, right? We want everyone in the raid to see this. And then the message is use defensives. So at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, every single person is going to get a message on their screen telling them to use the defensive. And then we can put whatever icon we want. So I just put an iron bark. I can just click it, or I can change the spell ID. Once I just go to Wowhead, find the spell ID, just copy it and post it there. Alright, so something else I want to add that I didn't originally mention in my first take of this video was that if you go to the PRT Discord, which I put a link to it in the description, they have links to profiles
for a lot of the fights, you can easily import and use as a healing officer to set up cooldowns for your entire healing core. And you can send the reminders to them really easily. So if we go PRT and let's just say I imported this profile from the Sun King channel they have timers for phase 1 healing, phase 2, phase 1 healing, phase 1, pedestals. You have the shade out, and you have all these different timers, shield timers, DPS CDs. So this guy's sending it to targets who are supposed to be using their cooldowns. Same thing here. Reminders for CCs. Phase 4, DPS shield again. He has a reminder for Guardian Spirit. So he has all this super cool stuff in this profile that I would not be able to do for myself or know how to really set up. So I would definitely recommend checking out the PRT Discord, looking at these profiles and setting them up for your own guild if you're a healing officer. And then if you're just like me, just setting them up for your own own reminders for yourself, then kind of following my format and just setting it up for your own wings, your own devos, and whatever other messages you want to set up. But healing officers, definitely check out this Discord because they have profiles for all of this shit. You can import it, you can change the encounter ID, and just go through and change the timers that way. So you have the same format for every single boss. But it's super sick. Definitely recommend checking it out. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. I appreciate everyone who made it this far and watched. Hopefully you were able to get your PRT set up how you wanted it. And in the description below, I'm going to include links to my profiles for my Shaman and my Paladin, which basically means you can just import them, go to PRT, and you'll see Sire Denathrius and Sledgefist both set up. And you can just go in, click timers, and just change the healing tide, the mana tide, the spirit link times, or your wings times, your Venthyr times to whatever you want them to be based on what your healing officer told you to. And you can play around with it from that. But once again, I appreciate everyone who made it this far. Appreciate everyone who was watching, and hopefully you guys were able to figure out how to do it. Thanks for watching, boys.